Well, we've been rocked by these allegations, and you think to yourself, are we going over the top with these conversations? And I'm saying to myself, no, we're not, because this has to be fixed, and it has to be fixed, as I said yesterday. Early childhood education, not just in Victoria, but all throughout the country. And Four Corners investigation that led to that upper house inquiry, the concerns plaguing the sector are not new. They've surfaced in a sobering display of the failures to protect our most vulnerable, kids, only months old up to 2 years of age, having to have, STIs and be tested. I mean, it's hideous. Inadequate staffing, poor pay, insufficient training, creating unsafe environments for kids and workers alike. I mean, calling for immediate intervention that goes further to safeguard children. And as I say, it should have been done yesterday, but we're dealing with it now. Secretary of the Independent Education Union of Australia in New South Wales and the ACT is Carol Matthews. She joins me now. Hi, Carol.
Good morning.
This is a seriously awful situation that has to be addressed and fixed ASAP.
Absolutely. Look, it's been going on for a while, but of course no one knew the extent of the problem, so now is absolutely the time to fix it.
Okay, what was your immediate response to the most recent allegations from Victoria? And to my mind, the really worrying thing is how long they'd been going on, what the sector's been reporting for years behind the scenes.
Look, it's shocking. It's terribly sad for parents who use the sector, for other staff who work in the sector, but absolutely shocking. And I think what it shows is there simply is not embedded into the early childhood sector a child-safe culture, that this has been allowed to go on so long and no one really noticed.
No one really noticed it. And I've just seen a story too, Carol, on the ABC's website, which seriously troubles me, that within childcare, people are terribly concerned. There's a lot of fast-track people. They're using people of immigration, fast-tracking their qualifications to get them into the system because there's so many gaps, so many educators that are needed within the childcare system. I mean, we really do have some kind of a problem here, don't we?
Look, absolutely. So we say that you have to look at it. Obviously, there's been a significant expansion of the sector, which has led to demand for staff, but wages and conditions have to be part of the problem.
Yep.
So we certainly share that concern about people doing quick qualifications, getting recognition supposedly for qualifications they already have, supposedly, and simply recognition for experience that might be very different from what we expect in Australia. So yes, that recognition or quick sort of courses in the private sector is certainly a concern. But we think all of the training for both educators and university qualified teachers have to make child protection and child safety paramount. I mean, we've seen a Take New South Wales course, Diploma in Children's Services, where child protection is an option, a specialisation.
Really?
And that's just not good enough.
No, it's not. Look, as far as the union's concerned, I mean, we've seen the government now come forward with actions like, unannounced spot checks and banning phones and calls for mandatory CCTV, which some of them don't have. I mean, they sound a bit, stopgap to me. Do they go far enough?
No, they don't. And we see them more as a knee-jerk reaction to the problem, although we absolutely support the call for banning of private mobile phones. There's been too long an expectation by parents that they will receive constant, throughout the day, updates on how their child is going with images. And so we think that expectation needs to stop, and that banning mobile phones, which are privately owned, will help limit that and make everyone understand that that is not what early childhood education is about. It's not about, images.
No.
So CCTV, we think, is, potentially helpful, but it's very much an after-the-fact measure, where if something goes wrong, someone can possibly find the CCTV footage, but our understanding is it obviously won't be in bathrooms and change areas.
No.
Often the coverage is going to be pretty limited. So we don't really think that's a solution. We think what's really important is training. For example, at the moment under the regulations, only one staff member needs to be trained in the law in relation to child protection.
What?
So in a large centre, you could have 12 to 20 or more staff, but only one staff member needs to have that training. So that should just be mandatory for all staff, that they must undergo, a 1 hour module every year on engagement, so that they understand the basics of both child protection and also how to deal with challenging behaviour.
Yeah, gee, there's a lot to be done.
Sexual matters. It's also about other unacceptable behaviour by educators and educators.
Read a lot about this, and it probably doesn't surprise me that the fact that 91% of these offences are committed by men. But then you also read that there's only 3% of men in the whole childcare sector, early educators. So we've got the sector now of a lot of men in the sector saying, well, I'm not the problem, and other people saying, well, maybe we ban men altogether out of childcare centres. Well, I don't think that's the answer either. What's the union's ideas or standpoints on that?
No, we don't agree with that either.
No.
Look, I think the issue with sexual offences is that it's overwhelmingly men. But there are other behaviours which came to light in the Four Corners investigation, which are unacceptable, and they certainly weren't male staff.
No, they weren't. No.
I don't even recall an example of male staff. So it's across the board, I think.
All right. We're identifying, aren't we, Carol, just any number of problems associated with this. And it is a bit, like I've been saying, bolting the stable door, and the horses have well and truly gone. And federal government, the state government have all moved quickly to try and plug all of these loopholes. But it's going to be a very big response required. What's the main thing, let me ask you, that the union would like to see?
We'd like to see attention on wages and conditions, and we'd like to see absolutely a focus on embedding child-safe culture through training, use of qualified staff, and trying to achieve stability of staff as well.
Yeah, stability of staff is very important. And look, as far as the staff are concerned, I mean, I'm reading terrible stories. Fast tracking, using immigration. I mean, it's such a big issue that has come to light, thankfully. But Carol, it's 10 years after the Royal Commission made recommendations, and hardly any of them were taken up.
Yes, I think unfortunately. Look, the sector is divided between state and federal control. I don't think that's helped.
No.
I think there's been rapid expansion, but certainly it's really important that there's a united focus on what needs to be done. And I think to a little bit, there's been a little bit of blame shifting between the two jurisdictions.
Yep.
And I think it's really important that everyone just gets together and works out what needs to be done, and not necessarily quick fixes either, like a more long-term understanding about how we can make the sector better.
Good on you. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
A pleasure.
Carol Matthews, the Independent Education Union of Australia at New South Wales and ACT.